The Radio Misfits Podcast Network.
Hi, everyone, and welcome to Planted with Sara Pion. I'm Sara Pion, your host, and today we have the editor-in-chief of High Times, and also my very first guest on the podcast, Ellen Holland. So you're my first repeat, Ellen, and I'm really happy to have you here.
Hooray! Thank you so much for having me back.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to talk about High Times, but before that, we were talking about getting together to talk about your book.
Yes.
Tell me.
I wrote a book during the pandemic. You know, it seems like something everyone says, yeah, I'm going to do that. I got some time, but it actually was pretty challenging to put together. It's A Connoisseur's Guide, A Connoisseur's Guide to Cannabis is the title of the book. And essentially, it's a cannabis appreciation book. So it looks at different types of cultivars and also the cultivar families. And I kind of worked my way back to land races to the current day strains in the categories of fruit, floral, fuel, and earth, which is something that Kevin Jodrey came up with. Sorry, his name is Jodrey, I think. I always say it wrong because I've only seen it written. Oh my God. Okay. Yeah, but he came up with that. And so I worked with that material and put together also different ways that you can enjoy cannabis, in your cocktails or through yoga or, just the spiritual way that you can explore all the different elements of the plant.
I was really impressed because, everybody was having these ideas like, oh, we're at home. I'll do all this stuff for, self-care and these projects and everything. And almost everybody that I've talked to didn't do that but you.
Thank you. Yeah, it was an amazing opportunity. I feel like to anytime that I'm able to share my love of cannabis and kind of the stories behind how we got where we are is just like a great thing for me to do. And I had a lot of fun putting it together and worked with incredible photographers, including Chris Romaine of Candid Kush. He submitted a lot of photos and also my mind is like ooh. Also worked with a pot farmer's daughter, Christian Angelo.
Oh, right on.
Yeah, so she submitted a lot of beautiful imagery of her outdoor farms and things like that. So
the photos are gorgeous.
Thank you.
It's a really I had it as my coffee table book, but my coffee table ends up collecting so many things, and we're sitting together in my living room right now, so Alan can see all the different products that I have piled on here for work, because it's not only my coffee table, but it's my work table.
Yeah, your consumption table. And maybe that's why I'm starting to forget things, because I'm drinking this fabulous weed soda that you've just given to me, which is grapefruit hibiscus and tastes amazing. And yeah, just like pandemic brain, of course, we all have these moments where
isn't that the truth?
What happened again? What day is it? Oh my God.
I know. I just did an episode of another podcast with a colleague, and I actually had to be like, can you repeat that question again?
No, we're good.
So this is your first book that you've written, correct?
Yes. I worked on a bunch of books with Ed Rosenthal as the editor. I worked with him on his new Cannabis Grower's Guide in terms of the terpene chapters. And I think that's where a lot of the research started for this book, because it is really about terpenes, about flavors, and exploring terpenes as a way that you can understand where cannabis might take you. Because, there's so many different kinds. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
There's new kinds coming out every day. You can't really follow, even the new cultivars that are coming out is impossible to really understand what they are, because their names say nothing about how they might make you feel. Mm-hmm. Right? They're just totally arbitrary at times.
Mm-hmm.
So you're okay, this amazing root beer cut that I just got from Mean Gene, it's probably going to taste a little creamy, a little bit like root beer, those I like it when the names tell you a little bit about where it might go. And I think that we're getting a little bit farther away from that. So we have to really understand what profiles we're looking for instead. I really like the terpinolene, that bright Jack Herrera taste, the Northern Lights, that's okay, this is the hazes, super lemon haze, super silver haze. I'm totally into those long flowering equatorial sativas.
They almost have like a little bit of a bite to them, don't they?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I like it. I like it. And it's like a sharpness and a brightness too. Like I prefer a cannabis like that I can do stuff.
Yeah.
Still.
Yeah.
But you know, it's in these times too, we also need to relax a lot. So I turn towards the other direction often as well. And there's the fuel strains, the ones that are super fuely, those Chem Dogs and like OG Kush and things like that. Like those can also be a really valuable tool to like just relax.
Yeah, well, and going on that, one of the questions that I've gotten before is that gassiness of those cultivars. What's the top terpene in there that creates that? Do you know?
I'm not sure, but they're really going to be myrcene heavy.
Yeah.
That's like that. That's the couch lock.
I love myrcene.
And that's the number one terpene out there. That's like gonna dominate most strains.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for something different, you know, like Awesomine, I really like the Tropical Sleigh Ride has that from Green Shock Farms. And like it's just like a, I don't know, the Hawaii, like like a different taste profile that I'm like, oh, this is fun. Oh, what is this? Awesomine? Okay, yeah, like I can get down with that.
Yeah. I love the sweet strange, but I'm also like one of those weirdos that can smoke like Granddaddy Purple in the middle of the day.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, the same way that I'll drink a cup of coffee and take a nap right afterwards. So I understand that. You know? Or like sometimes one fun thing I've been doing recently is like using products that are for the nighttime, like during the day.
How's that working out?
It's great. Get super high. I'm like, oh, nighttime recommended. Oh, I got you.
Hey, Candy, it's an anytime thing. It's more about set and setting, right?
Yeah. Super fun. And I also tried, well, I told you that we were just talking last night about the 100 milligram edible that I recently tried just like during the day.
Yeah.
And that was actually super fun. I was kind of intimidated by having that much. I'm at a point where like tinctures and stuff like that, where I was doing like 30 milligrams and I really like hashish in my tinctures, and I really like Space Gems is one of the big products that I like to buy, those little gummies. And now they have this like syrup that I'm like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah. I had some of that, and I had some of their rainbow ribbons that I picked up at Hall of Flowers, and I was like, ooh.
And they're all like vegan and woman owned and seem really cool and taste amazing. So yeah, I've been into those, but I never went up to the 100, and it was like a pill, right? So I was like, wow, this is crazy. I'm going to take this pill. And I ended up just like having a great time, like, manifesting my destiny on a piece of paper. I went to the museum and saw the art, it was just high for like 5 hours, and it was super fun.
That's cool. And going back to the manifesting of your destiny, just recently you got named editor-in-chief of High Times.
Yes.
And Ellen, I'm just so freaking happy for you, because I loved working with you at Cannabis Now, and I just know you're going to do like just some awesome stuff with the magazine. And I mean, it's a legendary magazine, and now, editor-in-chief is a woman. You did so much to make Cannabis Now like a very serious cannabis magazine where you were giving just great information. It wasn't just, I love the buds, don't get me wrong.
Oh yeah, we all love the buds.
We all love the buds. But your content, your talent with content is, bar none.
Thank you. Yeah, and I feel like putting together a print magazine in 2022 is an incredible opportunity. I really love having that physical copy like in my hands. I have a lot of creative freedom at this point in time. I'm working a lot with the covers and the back covers and art cover. So I'm like envisioning different art concepts around the themes. And I feel like the stories that I'm able to put in there are just like gonna reach so many people, because everyone has this like love of High Times of the past. That that everyone knows what it is. It is a legacy publication. It's been around for forever. It's like they always say on the meetings that it's a 48-year-old startup, and they're going into different directions. And High Times is going in a lot of different directions, and being like a very different player in the space in terms of the retail and the cannabis cups and all those things. But there's still this like magazine that everyone respects, like they want to be in it. Like it's still just such an honor to be contributing to High Times. I can't believe it. And then to write an editor's note on the front of the magazine, you know, in the June issue is just insane.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
This might be the year that I actually get a subscription.
Woo, yeah. Everyone, start with June, you know, or
Right?
get your subscription now. Yeah.
Well, and then before we started recording, you brought up something that I didn't know. Like, you know, you've worked with Ed and Jane for years on great projects, but you're kind of coming full circle because Ed was part of the beginnings of High Times.
Yeah, Ed Rosenthal, like, you know, I was just reading in the old archives that, you know, he initially had a candle company, which is something that he's told me about in the past. We're old homies. He lives very close here to Sara. Yeah, he's a legend in the game, a legend in the publishing world. It is incredible to work with him on book projects, and I've learned so much, like, just being around him. He can smoke with the best of us, like, still to this day. Like, you cannot outsmoke Ed Rosenthal. Like, it is so fun. And so I feel like to come to a magazine at this point in time that he started, and to be like such, he has like been one of my main mentors in the game. Is it just like, oh my God, this is amazing.
Yeah. He must be so proud. When you were saying that nobody can outsmoke Ed, you know what I would like to see? I'd like to see Ed and Willie Nelson in the same room. I want to see how that would go down, because I know Snoop says that Willie beats him out.
Really?
Yeah.
I bet they have been in the same room at some point in time.
I'm sure they have.
Oh, I've seen a picture of them together.
Yeah.
There's no way they got together and like we're like, no, we're not partaking today.
I want to hear from them. I know Jeff, my husband, he toured with Willie with his bandbox set.
Oh, okay.
So he's spent quality time in the bus with Willie.
Oh.
And
quality
time.
Cheap in weed.
That's right. And there was a Throwback Thursday photo that Jeff's bandmate Jim put up of Willie in front of their truck, and he was going to ride the side of the truck, and everybody in the band was really excited. But I didn't see Jeff in the photo, and it's because he was still hanging in Willie's van because I had to leave him behind.
That's amazing.
He was still sorting it out after his session with Willie.
Sure. Damn. Yeah. We got to smoke with him.
I know. We got to make that happen.
Yeah. So it's that's one of the best things about cannabis, and I'm sure we've talked about this before, but like the people who are the legends, the people who are made it what it is, are around, are like available, are, you know, like people that we can still meet and interact with and tell their stories. And I think that's one of the best parts about working in the cannabis industry, is the fact that like everyone is still accessible. It's not like it is a plant that we've had around for thousands and thousands of years, but I feel like in the 70s, in terms of the genetics and everything, started changing in Amsterdam and California. And now like the major players are, you know, let's call Mila the hash queen and see what's up with, you know, like super fun. It's so
accessible. Like all, you know, well, like, you know, Dr. Meshulam's one of my heroes.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And I remember wishing him happy birthday on social media, and he responded, and I was like, my heart. I mean, I had met him once, and he was a very lovely person, but I'm sure he didn't remember me, but he was still like kind enough to be like, thank you for wishing me a happy birthday.
Yeah, he's such a sweetheart. I did actually get to interview him once over the phone. And he
right on.
explained the entourage effect. Like, I felt like it was to me. I'm writing an article. It wasn't to me personally, but like, he's like, oh, I'll just explain the entourage effect to you right now. And I was like, oh my God, this is happening. Like, it's just incredible. And he's got an email at his university, and actually he's pretty accessible. You should get him on the podcast. Like, I feel like
I should.
Yeah.
I should. Yeah, that would be amazing.
Like, every once in a while I'll be like, hey, he's in the book. You know, I hit him up about some questions that I had for the book in terms of terpenes and things like that. And he responded right away, and cannabinoids and things like that. What are you working on now? I think he's doing a lot of things in terms of like osteoarthritis and bone density. Like those kind of things. Yeah. So he's and that's my favorite part, is you just like email him and he's like, yeah, hey.
Yeah.
I had him writing for Cannabis Now for a minute. Like, he was writing like a column.
I didn't realize that.
He was writing a column for a while. Like, he wrote maybe 2 or 3, and then he was just so sweet. He was like, you know what? I really just don't have time to. I think I was asking him like questions, you know, like what do you think about this, or what are you working on now? And he was responding to that, and I was putting out a column in Cannabis Now.
That's cool.
It was just, he was so sweet to do it. He did it for like 3 times. And I was like, you're amazing. No, it's great. Like, thank you so much. So,
well, and with all of your experience in the industry, all the people that you've met, because I know I think you more than anybody else I know has connected with so many different people who've been pivotal to what we're seeing now and what's been grown in the industry and the movement. So you had a lot of great people to tap into for your book. And who are some of the people? I mean, I know you reached out to me, but
yes.
there were other really awesome people that were included in the book. I'm not including myself in the awesome people. I'm just like saying
no,
that there was
you are one of the awesome people.
Oh, well,
and we
thank
talked
you.
to you about your juicing practices, which I think is a really cool part of cannabis. Is, you know, the leaves are actually a valuable way that we can use cannabis to have beneficial health effects and you know, stop the inflammation, right? It's those kind of things.
It's great for the anti-inflammatory effects. And for me, it was like not getting high, but it was like taking a chill pill. It was the equivalent of like, because I love adaptogens too,
right?
And I find that like to create homeostasis in my body so that with all the different things I do, I don't get like the work scaries where I just freeze up and I'm like, I can't do anything. But THCA, like juicing it every day, really helped me just be able to be and do my stuff and not get heady about things. Because like, you know, we were talking the other day, like Jeff got me a t-shirt that says, give me a moment while I overthink this, because that's my normal mode unless I take my tools around me and can actually, and it's funny because people will be like, oh, you seem so, you know, so chill. And I'm like, there's a lot that goes into my chill.
I'm working on it.
I'm working on it, just like everybody.
Yeah, I feel like, and the juicing is also a cool way to talk about how important home grow is.
Yeah.
Because you're not going to necessarily get the leaves. I've only seen the leaves one time at a dispensary in like Mendocino, like, you know, I don't know, 10 years ago or something like that, where they had the leaves offered or they had the juice offered.
Yeah.
Something about it is like, I don't know, like, I don't know why there isn't a product out there yet, actually. Somebody's probably listening.
Somebody, a juice product would be really nice. Because like when you're looking at like THC in a tincture, that's cool. But
right.
I think maybe some of the reason that we don't see it as much is because it's one of those things that has to be, you have to really control it with temperature to make sure that it doesn't convert.
Right. Yeah.
Because I've had that happen. and because I thought it was THCA, it took much more than I would have. And it was actually the cautionary after school spectral tale that we would tell people for a while. What happens when you take more than you need?
Yeah, I mean, we all have those stories with edibles, I think. But what's cool about today's market is you really can control a lot of that better because you can understand the milligram count and like what type of edible you're enjoying and things like that. The market is really helping us like make it easier to not have those crazy like, oh my God, like I'm dizzy and I give up.
That's it. Well, and I think that's something that like, because we work with all the products, we talk to people all the time about it, we're really aware of dosage.
Yeah.
But there's something with the public when something's made legal that they're like, whatever. It's legal, therefore it means that, you know, whatever I do, it's all good. And it's like, let's have that conversation. Like we need to have, for the general public that's not immersed in cannabis culture, we have to have the conversation of no matter whether it's medicinal or recreational, it's a substance that creates a reaction in the body.
Sure.
You know, your friend might love her chocolate-covered blueberries to help with sleep, but it might be a different thing for you that works well, or maybe it's half a blueberry, or maybe it's 2 or 3 blueberries.
Well, I think the problem is people always see it as a challenge, right? Because you're like, beware, like, you know, I can handle it, but you might want to drink this soda slow, and they're like, oh, come on. And then they just drink the whole thing, and you're like, oh, I had a bad experience. And I don't want people to have bad experiences with cannabis, you know, like, and you can get to a point where you get really anxious, especially with edibles, because they're so much stronger in the way that our body processes them is different, right? They can hit, like, and they'll hit for longer, too. So I think that, it's fun. It's fun to explore them and understand, like, yeah, that there's different milligrams, and you know, like you don't have to always go, you know, for the 100 milligram pill in the morning.
You don't have to be a high achiever.
No, maybe you do. Yeah.
Maybe. Maybe. So, what are some of the things? Well, first, I was going to ask you one question, but now I'm going back.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to go back to the book.
Oh yeah. I was going to say Nikki and Swami at Swami Select were some of the great people that I spoke with.
Yeah.
And, you know, those are some of the first people I ever met in cannabis. And I think because they made themselves so public at a time when it wasn't okay to do that, you know, like everyone was still very scared of the police, and they didn't want their people to come out to their farms because their farms might get robbed or something like that. Swami of Swami Select was one of the first people to say, hey, yeah, everyone can come out to my farm. I feel like so many people in the cannabis industry have been out to their farm, explored the flowers, you know, gone through to the gardens, done everything. And Swami was in the New York Times, you know, in the cannabis farm. And he was one of the first people that I met in cannabis. And actually one time speaking of the Oakland Museum of California, which I just was before we started this podcast, at the Oakland Museum of California, they had an event, like it was like a Harborside party a couple years back or whatever. And Swami was telling me that, you know, Oakland is the home of Just Say No. This is where Just Say No was born, right?
I didn't know that.
Because Nancy Reagan was out of school here in town, and she said, you know, like, just say no, kids. And Swami said things started changing when he started just saying yes. And I think that that's so beautiful, because he just like started saying yes to people coming and exploring the plant and just being more and more public facing, that it just was like all the opportunities came. And those are like the best people in the cannabis industry are those ones who are open to other people coming and celebrating different, you know, having them at their homes, having them at their grows, having them at their farms, like just opening up and sharing so much knowledge. So I talked to them. They were the first people I talked to for the book. You know, I called them and said, let's talk about cannabis tastings, because, you know, they did the Emerald Cup. They've judged so many weeds. So many different types of weed.
Yeah, they're both regular judges for the Emerald Cup.
Yeah, they're you know, they're really dedicated to smoking so much. It is like, I've never done it, but the Emerald Cup flower judging is like really a commitment. It's like days upon days of just like sampling buds for hours upon end. And then in the beginning they were doing this really cute show that was like, they would sit on their couch and they would tape it, and it was just in the back of the barn, and then they were just like, hey Swami, what are you doing this week? And they would just talk about the flowers and everything. It was just like really cute.
Well, and he's really highlighted the value of biodynamic farming in cannabis too. He does some really cool stuff with that.
Yeah, and I really love both his and Nikki's, like, at their farm, all those different religious artifacts, and they're not necessarily like from one religion. So there's like an angel and a giant stone sculpture of like Shiva and like all these different things, right? And you start spotting them, and then you realize that they're thinking about cannabis in like a more conscious like way. They're using it in a way that helps them like develop their own spirituality. You know, they made the shape of the plants in the garden in like a sacred geometry.
I heard that. I would love to see that.
You know? So I think those things like that are just really cool. And I think people who are more conscious about their consumption, I mean, as fun as it is to just like be like, yeah, let's get blazed all the time. If you think about it more, if you're like using cannabis to do like a yoga practice, or you're using cannabis to like, you're going to start trying to meditate, I feel like it can be such an amazing guide to get you those places that you need to go. Or you're going to go on like a long hike in the woods and also smoke, you know, maybe alone. It's a pandemic still.
Puff, puff, don't pass.
That's what I was doing, is just like getting out into nature and just using cannabis as a guide to help me get to where I need to go in this life.
Yeah. But especially with these past 2 years, I think cannabis has become a really valuable tool for people to not only center, but just to de-stress.
For sure.
It's been a lot. Who else do you have in the book?
Oh my gosh.
I know there's so many. I saw our friend Ngaio Bilam was in
Oh,
there.
of course, and Gaio. Yeah, he knows so much about
He does.
different types of weed as well. Gotta get him
Not
in
just
there.
a comedian, although a very good comedian, but not just a comedian.
Oh no, he's a super strain expert. So and Gaio's in the book. I wish I should look at it.
You know what? Let me grab it really quick. I've got it right here.
Oh, well, we did Tina at Moonmaid Farms, of course. I did Daniel Stein at Bryceland as well. Thank you.
Yeah, I love Tina from Moonmaid. We did an episode not too long ago, and it's just really like her approach to cannabis is just, it's so soulful.
Yeah. I feel like I really wanted to highlight those people that are growing cannabis in the ways that I think cannabis should be grown, which essentially is outdoors, in the full sun with somebody who really loves it behind it. And Gaio has some kind of joke about it, that's just like, you gotta have a hippie that really loves the plant. And I still really believe that. I don't think that cannabis is like a corporate commodity yet. I don't think it's like something that you can just smoke any kind of it that's grown any kind of way and still get these benefits from it. Like, I think that if you're seeking, a more health-filled life, which we all are trying to do at this point, I think, because like things have just been hard. Cannabis grown organically outdoors in the sun, in the California sun,
with intention,
is my favorite.
Yeah, well, and that's a conversation that I think we've had before, and I know I've had lots of times, is when we're looking at indoor growing and somebody says that a light is full spectrum. Well, I don't think that we're advanced enough to really understand everything that the sun does.
Yeah, I would agree. I definitely don't understand half the things that the sun does. But I know that when I go out in the sun and feel it on my skin, it feels really good. Right?
Yeah.
So I feel like plants, I don't know, I'm getting real hippie on this, but I feel like plants...
Go there!
I feel like plants have that too.
Yeah.
And when I see plants out in the sun, maybe even in the ground, like not even in a pot, ready to like spread their roots as far as they'll go and being grown in that biodynamic way that they do at Moonmaid and also Moon Gazer is another one of the farms that I talked to. I think that those type of plants just look the happiest to me.
Yeah.
They're vibing. I can see it in my eyes and in my heart. I don't know.
Well, no, it's true. And, I remember back in the day when I worked behind the bar, we used to be kind of like with outdoor, we were like poo-pooed it. And there were like these big, beautiful colas that were coming from indoors.
Yeah.
But, then there's, learning more about it and learning about, terroir and the fact that like, even like with things like grapes, like the struggle makes them more flavorful and juicy. And, I think that in the beginning, the outdoor that I was growing wasn't necessarily grown by people who had as good of a grasp on how to do it. So I used to think, oh, well, it's not as strong, this and that. And then one time I was hanging out with Ngaio, and he brought me this a gram of flower called gummy bears. And I remember smoking it, and I was like, oh my God. The flavor, the power behind it, it was completely different than what I had experienced before. So what I realized was outdoor flower, when done right, is far superior to anything.
I agree. I feel like it's hard to say that, especially on a podcast where people can hear us. But no, I mean, because indoor cannabis is so delicious. Like, I
love indoor cannabis too.
I do not want to throw any shade. Oh my God. But I feel like when I have the opportunity to really look at what type of cannabis I feel like vibes the best with me and with the world, and the way that cannabis is grown is going to be really important to the future conversations. And using like the sun is way better than building a greenhouse or even like in a facility, especially an indoor facility, is going to take a lot of electricity, things like that. And as more states are getting legalized, we're growing cannabis in places like Colorado, and Colorado isn't necessarily the spot where it's going to be like it's pretty dry, it's pretty cold, those kind of things. So they're controlling the indoor climate a lot in those kind of spaces. And that's taking a lot of energy. And I don't want cannabis to be something that like takes away from the world. I want it to be something that like really gives to the world.
Right.
And so the way that I see that it giving to the world is outdoors.
Yeah, I agree. And going back to what you were saying before too about indoors, like there are, I mean, I don't want to knock indoor because there are some very masterful indoor growers that have beautiful stuff.
Yeah, we're not.
Yeah, we love you too.
We're not going to say no. Give us your weed.
Yeah.
We love it. But yeah, when I had an opportunity like writing this book,
yeah,
I was like, wow, how do I want the expression of cannabis to be portrayed? Then I said, I really want it to be a lot of outdoor stuff. I put indoor as well, information about indoor growing into the book, but it's a lot of regenerative. It's a lot of hugelkultur. It's a lot of those kind of growing techniques that I think give the best expression of what cannabis can be.
Right.
Because this is a cannabis appreciation book, so it's like, how can we appreciate the flower like in the best possible way? And my concept for that was like, yeah, we got to grow it the best possible way.
What was your favorite part of writing it?
Oh my gosh. My favorite part of writing it, I feel it's so hard as a writer because you just sit at your house alone for so many days, just putting it together, and like wondering, you kind of think, is anyone going to read this? Am I going to reach the world? And so I feel like the putting it together and then the expression of it like in my hand now, it was just like having a physical book was just incredible. Yeah. I think it was very challenging to write it because it was during the pandemic, like everything was shutting down. Literally, it was a very fearful time. We were here in the Bay, and that was during when the fires caused the sky to turn orange. And
that was wild.
Folks, like the sky didn't even rise that day. The sun, the sun didn't even rise that day.
It felt like the sky didn't rise. It felt like we woke up in Mars.
Right. So I was like, okay, I'm still going to write the sweet book, well, even though I'm in Mars,
I'm still going to write it,
So that was wild. It was very challenging, but I feel like pushing through it and putting it all together and then having this like expression with, there's so many cool people in it. And I'm so sorry that I just like spaced on the whole thing because I'm just like out of control working on the magazine these days. But yeah, there's just like, it was an opportunity to take all the work that I'd done through Cannabis Now magazine and all the people that I met and like put it together in a physical book. Just like 7 years of this stuff, like, interviews, meeting people, going to the farms, like exploring cannabis, smoking it, like, judging competitions, doing all these things, meeting you, like everything of my whole like cannabis life is kind of in here.
Yeah, well, you had
there's even a glossary.
I saw that. You had like years and years of content like in your head, and I have to say that when all hell was breaking loose in the world, like hearing from you in an email was like the best because I was like, the world is continuing. Everything
was so crazy. When I talked to Tina at Moonmade, it was like she was like, there was the smoke and the fires and like the harvest season was coming, and I was like, hey, can I talk to you about my book? And she's like, okay, kind enough to like get an interview in about like her growing practices and the things that she does at the farm. But it was such a crazy time to be like reaching out to people. Yeah. Because we were all so just like, oh my gosh, what's happening in the world?
I know. But I also think it's a really good time to reach out and hear from people because we all were so separated because everybody was, the fires were scary, but if we hadn't been in the midst of a pandemic, some of us would have gotten together to kind of support each other through it.
Oh my gosh. And the whole thing that was going on in the political scene with like Trump and everything was just like terrifying, and we were all just like isolated from each other going through it. So I feel like it was really nice to still stay connected to the cannabis community. And I usually I do things in person. I love to meet people. I love to like be there. I love to smoke the weed. I love to be on the farm. But in this case, like, it was like, all right, like I'm doing it, I'm writing it. I've had those experiences, I'm putting them all together. And it was like, it starts at the beginning, when I'm at Oaksterdam. Here in Oakland, which is like, that's the first place where I saw a live cannabis plant on display. And it was just downtown. and you could just walk in. My friend was visiting from London,
Mm-hmm.
and I was like, hey, this is a cool Californian thing we can do. We can go check out this cannabis museum. And then the plant was right there. And I feel like that was such a pivotal moment for me. I had never really even seen it before. Like, wasn't from like my parents didn't like grow it in the backyard or anything. Like I had only smoked it before. So like seeing it as a living plant, I thought was so important. And like, I wanted to show him, and I want to show the world like what the plant looks like and like how to grow it. And one of my main mentors is Ed Rosenthal, and I actually like started growing during the pandemic as well. Like, I'm not a master cultivator by any means, but it was like, now we have some time, right? So like, I grew some tomatoes.
Those tomatoes were really good, by the way.
Yeah, like all the heirloom tomatoes I got from Ed, like, because he's giving me all the starters, and we're just hanging out. And I grew some different types of bud, and me and my husband, we had his and her gardens, which was ridiculous. Like, he had his own grow, and I had my own little grow. It was just like in 2 separate areas of the backyard. And it was so fun to just like grow a plant and explore cannabis in that way. Like, you just see more about it when you just grow it yourself. And I feel like in California, we're so lucky because we can grow 6 plants, but there's still states where they're legalizing it where you still can't even grow. And I'm just like, I don't know,
There's a huge disconnect with that, because I just want to say to the people who are against it, and especially when it's the companies, nobody's going to be growing enough that they're going to stop going to you. I mean, people grow tomatoes at home, and tomatoes still sell perfectly well at the store.
Right, that's exactly what Ed says is the tomato model. Like, you can grow your own heirloom tomatoes at home, and it'll be fun, but you're not gonna like stop buying tomato sauce, like, because you have like, you're not like, no, I'm off the tomato grid. Like, screw you guys. Like, you're still gonna get a slice of pizza. Like, like, it's not.
And it's so therapeutic. I mean, that's the first time that I went into a grow. It was magical. Like, just what you feel. And here, I'm going to go hippie on you.
Oh, yes.
But it's just like, there was this energy.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that I taught at the California Institute of Integral Studies. I did a little class on medicinal cannabis, or just like a cannabis 101 for the Chinese medicine practitioners, because as you know, the colonialism and the Opium War and everything changed the way Chinese medicine looked at cannabis. It became very taboo, even though they still use like the roots and the seeds and things like that.
Yeah.
But I had a grower actually give me a bouquet of fresh flowers, like the stems with the buds and leaves, put it in a vase on the desk, and people were just like, whoa.
And we're so lucky because it's happened to us. But like, for the majority of the world, I'm going to say that cannabis on the stem, like seeing it like that, like experiencing the plant and in its full capacity is still something that so many people have not done.
No.
So I'm like, yes, let's do more.
Well, and then you become disconnected from it, because when you only see it processed and packaged, it becomes more of a commodity than the fact that it's a living thing. Right.
And a botanical that grows in so many different types.
Yeah.
And that's one of the coolest things about cannabis is there's male and female plants, so we can make so many different combinations and we have been making so many different combinations of cannabis that it's like wine tasting at this point. It's better than wine tasting. There's so many different types to explore.
Well, and riffing off what you were saying with botanicals, I really cannabis does a lot on its own, and I like it by itself, just a lot. But that amazing synergy that happens when you start adding other botanicals into it is really cool too, like the mixing of herbs and cannabis.
Sure.
Because you're looking at, some of the properties of those plants, but the one thing that people sometimes don't understand is that they have a lot in common, especially because of the terpenes.
Oh, which ones are you mixing? Like, do you have like a tea or something?
I like to have like lavender with it.
Okay.
Lavender and cannabis is really nice.
Or you do like puff the lavender?
I'll puff it. Or sometimes I've actually or even sometimes I've done like a lavender tea, and I've put like, tinctures in there. Or even like I'll throw like my favorite jam is I have the sympathy from Kikoko, because it's got a high CBD content in there. they have other botanicals in there. But like I was saying earlier, I love nerding out on adaptogens. So I have this adaptogenic tea that's got like ashwagandha and holy basil and different things in there. And I'll put like a bag of each in. And that's like my jam because just the way that I mean, cannabis has an adaptogenic nature to it.
Oh, well, I was just gonna ask, what is adaptogen?
So adaptogens are a class of herbs that create homeostasis. They create like calm.
Oh, of course.
Yeah.
I just never heard the term before. I don't know.
Yeah, and Alan, you love it. You love it. I'm going to send you home with a couple bags of adaptogenic tea and you can check it out.
Okay.
But it's one of those things where like when I used to work in the store and we'd have like a stressful day.
Sure.
I have this tea from Yogi Tea called Tangerine Positive Energy. Mm-hmm. It has a little bit of caffeine in it, but then it has all these adaptogenic herbs that just help like even you out if you're having a stressful day.
Sure.
So I'd have like a box of those in my locker at work, and my coworkers, and they're having a bad day, they'd come up and they'd be like, "Do you have any of that tea?" Like, yeah, take a bag, have it on your lunch, come back. And it's like, it's nice too because there's, we have a rule at work that we have to be, with the program when we're on the floor. So it helps because sometimes I think when people get stressed, they might kind of jump the shark and how much THC they put in their bodies, and then they'd come back on the floor and not be as, on it. Mm-hmm. Whereas with adaptogens,
it's happened to me.
Happened to me too.
As a magazine editor, the first thing that goes is I can't use the computer anymore, and then I'm like, uh-oh.
Yeah, too much THC will make me really distracted. I keep it low during the day so that I can be really functional. But, for people who need to like have relief, but THC or some of the other cannabinoids might be a little distracting, throwing an adaptogen into the mix is a really nice way to create some balance and support your adrenals. And
nice. I just love the way that cannabis like kind of opens the doors to different plant medicines. Like you're saying, it's just like there's so many. You're like, oh, wait a minute, all these other things are... I was really interested in weed because it got me really high. And then I discovered that there's other plants that do things,
That's it. Well, I mean, and then there's, back in the day when I was a kid, where we used to, my best friend and I used to be like, so what else is there besides cannabis that will create a reaction in our bodies? And so we used to just mess with all sorts of things in the spice cabinet that did absolutely nothing.
Yeah, what was that one that you're supposed to grind up?
Nutmeg.
Yeah.
Nutmeg. See, I didn't know about that then, and it's probably a good thing.
Okay, I did it at UC Santa Cruz with my old roommate, and we like ground up the nutmeg, and we're like, yeah, we're gonna get faded. And then we put it in a big thing of water and drank it, and went to class, and like it just made us like really, really tired. I remember coming back and he looked all tired. He was just all like, whoa. It's like the nutmeg. Why did we drink all that nutmeg?
Nutmeg is a nighttime drink, apparently.
Yeah, that's what I'd say. But I don't, it's, yeah.
So going to the magazine, what? And I know, I'm going to preface this with, I know that you're just, you're very excited to be there. You're just starting out, in a year when I call you for the recap, I'm sure you'll have a lot more to say.
When I made 12 magazines,
exactly,
one a month.
Yeah. What have been some of the things that you've been really excited about with the magazine, and what are you looking towards the future in? And I know that, you're still in the midst, so no pressure.
Yeah. No. I think that it has a really nice structure to it. It has two components to it. It's the grow section and then the culture section. Mm-hmm. So I feel like I love to write grow articles. I love to write about like classic strains. I'm gonna explore skunk number 1. I did a tour of Fig Farms, which is an Oakland cultivator. That's just gonna be amazing, like in terms of like what they do with the pheno hunting and like creating new types of cannabis, and their like drive to give us the new flavors is just something I'm really excited to explore in the magazine. And also the culture side of it is really fun to talk to people. I have Cypress Hill, of course, those guys are cannabis all-stars, and then they're in the next issue, talking about their new documentary that they have coming out. Paul Wall and Terminology have a new album together. It was that interview was really interesting. Kyle Eustace is a writer that we're working with at High Times, and she's pretty amazing. She got Paul Wall to talk about how he had gastric bypass surgery and how he's using cannabis more medicinally these days, because after he had that surgery, he didn't really want to eat.
Yeah.
Because it like affected, it's just like wasn't hungry, and he started losing like all kinds of weight, but it wasn't like in a necessary that healthy way. You can't like not eat anything.
Right.
So he said that, I'm using cannabis more medicinally these days. And that's how his like cannabis consumption has shifted. And I think that was such a beautiful conversation, and that's coming out in the next issue. So I'm
That's so cool.
okay, this is really fun to talk to the cultural side of cannabis and really get into like the musicians and the people that are making the art and, like those elements, and then really hone in on the grow side of it. I want to make sure that people know like about like how cannabis starts from the seed, how clones, like grow your own, like all these things that I think the magazine should be able to tell people.
Yeah.
I really want people to still learn, and of course the High Times has been the forerunner in this space for so long.
It's legendary.
Like hash making started because someone took out an ad in High Times. It's like ice water hash and did the processes that we do today. So I feel like there's a lot of history to explore with the magazine as well. I really love looking back at the history and particularly the history of High Times and what kind of parties they threw, and like how they, like Tom Forsad like pied someone in the face in the Senate, because
I remember hearing about that.
That's so fun. Like I'm just like, I want to explore all these things. I want to like look back in the archives and really bring out all the fuck the police shit that High Times does,
Yeah.
back into the magazine and just honor what it's always been, but also look forward towards, a new future in cannabis. And that's, I think, what I'm hoping to do with the print.
That's cool, because I think there's nothing more sad than when something is like has been like the source and kind of the foundation of an industry, when they kind of lose their way and they just kind of fade off. And it has such a rich history, and like we've seen through the years, because you and I have been in this realm of cannabis for a while, there's been a lot of change, and it's like, how do we keep our heart and stay relevant? And it sounds like, I mean, the magazine had been working on that anyway, like, because of course even now High Times is the magazine in the industry.
Yeah, and I think at least recently, I'm gonna give a big shout out to my my boss, John Capetta, is the VP of content, and I've noticed his changes that he's really made in the last 4 years. He's really making it a lot more fun. He wants to invite a lot more people to pick up the magazine again and to have fun with it again, and to like really explore this plant in all the different ways. It's such a amazing way to bring us together too, cannabis. All these cannabis cups that High Times has always thrown. I mean, like winning the Cannabis Cup changed the world for fig farms. They were just telling me out there that, they won the 2017 cup with their banana fig. Uh-huh. And then the people that they were going to get the lease for their grow facility said, well, we've seen you in the pages of High Times magazine as the award winner, and we feel like we're going to give you the grow facility. Like,
that's awesome.
So it can really change people's lives still. And that was just, it's an amazing platform to have a media company that's as invested in cannabis as High Times is. So
right. Well, and we have more and more people who are using cannabis and are getting enthusiastic about it and wanting to learn more. Yes. So the readership is going to be expanding.
I mean, even my husband's dad is picking it up.
That's awesome.
I just feel like I don't want to isolate anyone. I do want like a granny to be able to like say, yeah, this fig farms does sound really good. I think that there's a piece of cannabis for everyone.
Yeah, I agree. It's, there are different parts of it that resonate more for people, but you've always done an amazing job of making it very friendly and accessible and educational, so people on any level can enjoy the content that you've put out, which I've always really appreciated, because I think in the past, it hasn't been as accessible. You know, it's definitely been more like the connoisseurs understand more about it, and then people do it just because they like it. But to actually be able to connect with who's growing, what's going on, empowering yourself with education, and to have that in a publication is just extraordinarily valuable.
Yeah, I agree. And I feel like if you're talking to the coolest of cool kids in this industry, which, you know, we roll with those people, they're awesome.
Yeah, they're so awesome.
At a certain point, it almost sounds like code. You're like, I don't know. You know, you have to be able to follow along. And that's one of the fun parts about writing about cannabis is we invent our own words to go along with the culture as things change. You know, we are artists in our own space, right? And I think that's really beautiful. But at the same time, it can get too far away from somebody who's just trying to understand. And that was what was a big part of writing this book, was distilling the message so it could reach more people, I suppose. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
I worked with different editors who weren't as familiar with cannabis as I was. So they were asking questions that I thought, oh, yeah, everyone knows what decarboxylate, you know, means. Like, that's a word we use all the time. You know? It's like, no, not everyone knows what decarboxylate means, which is... now I'm quizzing you.
You're quizzing me. So that is heating the cannabis plant that converts a precursor to THC, THCA to THC.
Mm-hmm. So if you have something that's not decarboxylated, like a raw leaf, it's going to be THCA, which is not going to get you high in the same way as THC. But the decarboxylation happens when you like light a joint or put it in the oven to cook it.
Or in the case of some tinctures, if you have an alcohol tincture that's in a warm...
Oh, yes, in the sun or something, huh?
That was my after school special moment.
Oh, yeah. Nice.
You know.
And we're back.
And we're back. Well, if our listeners want to follow you, how would they do that?
You know, I'm still on social media at Holland Buds on Twitter and Instagram, and you know, at the magazine I'm writing stuff. It's Ellen Holland and High Times. So, yeah, Holland Buds is just been a really fun thing. My friend Gracie at Cannabis Now magazine came up with my name for the gram, and I think it's just so perfect because Holland is like such a classic place for cannabis growing, like in the 70s, and we're talking like all the seed companies that first came out, like Greenhouse Seed, like Neville Seeds, like we were just talking Skunk Number One, like all of these things happen in the Netherlands, in Holland. So I'm like, yeah, this is my name, like Holland Buds. So,
and people need to check out your book because it's gorgeous and you'll learn a lot from it. It's really accessible. And like I mentioned earlier, if you're like me and you like to nerd out on your books and you like to decorate your house with them too, it makes a beautiful, not only a coffee table gift or coffee table book, but a beautiful gift for the weed curious or the weed lover in your life.
Thank you. And I've just really enjoyed seeing it around people's homes, like your home today. It's just so like nice to see it. You know, I went to my aunt and uncle's house and it's still on the table in the middle, you know, and they're not smokers. So I was just like, that's really cool about it too, is that everyone's entering their lives is going to go, hey, what's this? You know, like, oh yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, for people who want to learn more and want to follow people, you have a lot of amazing folks in there that they should be following on social media and learning from them because there's a lot of great educational content.
Yeah.
That comes from
I like I said, I feel like this is years of me meeting people and learning about the plant and gathering them all together in one place. And I feel like it's all here. You're in here, you know. I feel there's so many cool things in here, and I feel like I'm excited to, as it gets out into the world, and I hope people, you know, want to read it and, you know, leave me a review on the Goodreads and stuff like that. It would be cool.
Yeah.
It was the #1 book in marijuana cultivation for a good couple weeks. So I was like,
congratulations. That's awesome.
Yeah, #1 new release. So I was like, all right, yay. Weed, A Connoisseur's Guide to Cannabis.
Well deserved. I
Thank
mean,
you.
You know, my jaded ass loves it.
Yay, thanks. Yeah, it's such a beautiful thing. And the forwards by Kat Cora, and she was an amazing person to work with. I like really respect her. Do you remember that show, Iron Chef America?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, where she battles with the different chefs, and she's the female chef, and she's kicking ass.
That's so cool. Yeah, that's another thing that's been really interesting too, is seeing a lot of like chefs that have gotten into the cannabis sphere, like Kat, and then also like Dominique Crenn has been doing some interesting
Oh
things.
yeah, that's nice. Yeah, you talked to her, right?
I did.
Yeah.
And then also oh gosh, I can't Enrique Oliveras.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, with Rose LA, they've been doing some really cool things.
Yeah.
And that's I just love hearing from our colleagues and finding out, the different creative artistic people in other realms like Kat and Dominique getting into this and like putting their voices and their creativity into it. Just it enriches everything.
I got to meet with Roy Choi in LA.
Oh,
who, like, for an event he put together this show on KQED at the time, was Broken Bread, and now he's got season 2 out, but it was about ways to like look at different aspects of the food industry, but like in a really conscious way. So he's like figuring out like this one place is called like Homeboy Industries, and it's all ex-cons working there. And he did an episode on cannabis, which is why I was there. So I got to talk to him, and it was so fun. He's amazing. He's a really nice person. He's an amazing chef. He's got all these things going on. And I brought him some weed, and we had an edible at I was hanging out. So yeah, it's really fun to meet people who are accepting of cannabis and like ready to use their passions and then combine it with our passion and our community's passion of this plant, this flower.
I love it. I love the fact that we actually have the opportunity to be open about being creative and really growing it.
Yeah.
But, one of the things that we also have to be aware of is like, for our listeners out there, especially those of you who aren't in California, it's like we live in kind of like the Disneyland of weed in many ways.
Yes.
And there is a lot to be said for the way policy is going in other states or not going. And so, there's a call to action for those of us, who are using cannabis. The reason that we're getting policy that's not so great is because we're basing it on state culture and stigma. Mm-hmm. And we need to, a lot of these policymakers still are under the old impression that, those of us who like weed are a bunch of stoners that don't take action and do things.
Right.
So, it's for those of us who are comfortable with it, it's time to come out of the cannabis closet.
Right.
Let your policymakers know that you are an active member of society that contributes, that has a job, that pays taxes, you use cannabis, and most importantly, you vote.
Right. And I think telling your friends and family too, really being really open with your social spaces and finally like not thinking that it's something that you should be ashamed of. Yeah. And that's something that we've had the opportunity to do because it's our industry that we've entered, right? So I've always said that one of the first things people ask you is like, hey, when they meet you, what is your job? What do you do? Yeah. And if you're like, I'm a cannabis writer, they're like, oh, okay, and then it opens up a conversation. But I don't think that everyone gets to have those types of conversations. And I just want more people to be able to explore the plant and say that they like it and, use it in these ways and not be ashamed of it in the ways that it has been in the past.
And I think your book is a great seg to be able to have those conversations.
Yeah.
I always like to say conversation is normalization, because the more we talk about it, the more people get comfortable and ask questions. And the more people know, the more we can create that safe container for experimentation for everybody to be able to check it out and see if it's something that resonates for them.
Yeah, totally.
Thank you so much for coming back on.
Thank you.
For those of you listening out there, if you haven't been listening since the beginning of the episode of my podcast, Ellen is the one that I started my training wheels with. I was like so happy to have her as my first guest because 1, she's a dear friend. 2, she's already had to sort through all my writing in the past.
What do you mean? You're an incredible writer and an incredible podcaster at this point. And I'm so glad that the opportunities are still coming to you and you're spreading the words of cannabis like with all your guests that you have. And thank you so much for having me back.
Oh, I always love talking to you. We have great conversations, but you're also just such a lovely, gentle soul that like my first episode, it made me way less afraid because for those of you who have done stuff like this, it is a learning curve.
Right.
We all learn in different ways, and It's the best to be able to do this with a friend and to have you back, and
Thank you.
especially with so many exciting things
But
going on in your life.
You were a pro in the beginning, and you continue to shine.
Thank you. For those of you who are listening to Planted, remember we are twice a month. If you like the podcast, share the love. Let people know that you're listening. Give us reviews. And if you want to follow us on social media, we are on Facebook with Planted with Sara Pion. On Twitter and IG, we are Planted with Sara. And if you want to follow me on social media, I am Sara Mitra Pion on IG and Facebook, and Sara M. Pion on Twitter, www.plantedwithsara.com. And of course, you can always listen to us wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts: Stitcher, TuneIn, Amazon, Google, Apple, Spotify, and Pandora, and our parent network, Radio Misfits Network, straight out of Chicago. I am still a Midwestern girl. And until next time, be good to each other. It's a crazy world out there. Stay safe and stay curious. Until next time, everyone, take care.